And so what we need to do is we need to let Scripture interpret Scripture. And what that means is we interpret difficult passages in light of clearer ones. So I'll give you an example of God's immutability, which God's immutability is the term described in theology to show that God is unchanging, right? In his nature and in his mind. God cannot change, because an infinite being cannot change into another type of infinite, because then he wouldn't be infinite, right? He would be finite at that point if he could change. And so if you look at places like 1 Samuel 15:29, it says, God is not a man that he should change his mind. And that's pretty clear. So, okay, so you have clear places throughout Scripture that talk about God not changing his mind. And so where people get confused is when they read stories maybe from Genesis, where it appears to show God negotiating with Abraham regarding the destruction of Sodom. And if you're unfamiliar with the story, God tells Abraham, okay, if I find 50 righteous people in this city, I'll spare it. And Abraham's like, well, why not 40? And he's like, sure, fine, 40. And he appears to talk him all the way down to 10. And so people look at that and they're like, well, God's changing his mind. He's allowing Abraham to negotiate with him. And it becomes confusing. But if you read one more chapter, what you find is Saddam's fate was already sealed. There were no righteous people in Sodom, and God destroyed it. And so
God already knew it. He didn't
God already knew it, right?
a lot,
And so what was happening there? Well, God was allowing Abraham to pray to him in a fashion that opened Abraham up to understand God's nature better, God's mercy. And he realized, wow, okay, God is just. God could have stopped him and just said, look, Abraham, if I find one righteous person there, I will spare that city. But he allowed it to unfold on Abraham's terms.